The wind had a voice that night. It wasn't the usual howl through the bare Appalachian pines. It was sharper, like a whisper threaded with warning. Emma pressed her coat tighter around her, the dim glow of the street lamp flickering above her casting long, trembling shadows on the snow-dusted road. Every house along the lane seemed to hold its breath, windows dark and opaque, doors locked like mouths that refused to speak. A sudden sound tore through the silence, a soft, deliberate tap. Wood against wood. Not from the houses. From the forest that hugged the edge of town. Emma froze. Tap, tap, tap. It came again, closer this time, irregular, almost cautious, as if whatever was out there was testing her. Her chest thumped. Every instinct screamed to run, but her legs refused. She told herself it was just branches, the wind. But the sound, it didn't sound like the wind. Then she saw it. A flash of movement. Too quick, too purposeful between the skeletal trees. A figure, dark against the pale snow, watching. Not running, not hiding. Just waiting. Hello. Her voice cracked, swallowed immediately by the silence. No reply. Only the tap, tap, tap now echoing from all sides. A shiver ran down her spine. The kind that didn't fade. And then she noticed the footprints, tiny, deliberate, leading away from the forest, straight toward her. Emma blinked. The footprints stopped, right in front of her. Alone, in the snow, a single pair of prints, ending nowhere. A whisper brushed her ear. Cold. Familiar. Impossible. Don't look back. And the street went utterly silent. The snow fell harder as Emma hurried along the cracked sidewalk, her boots crunching rhythmically in the frozen hush of the town. Christmas lights flickered faintly along the eaves of houses, painting the world in soft reds and greens, but the glow did little to warm the chill crawling through her bones. Even the holiday music drifting from a distant radio sounded hollow, a brittle echo swallowed by the night. Something was off. She could feel it in the air, a tension that pressed against her chest, invisible but undeniable. Her phone buzzed. A message from her brother, Mark. Be home soon. Dinner's ready. Don't wander near the woods, okay? She smiled faintly at the concern, typing a quick reply. Yet the words felt heavier than normal, as though warning her against something she couldn't yet name. She slipped the phone into her coat and forced herself to keep walking, though the pull of the forest at the edge of town tugged at her like a question she wasn't supposed to ask. The street was empty. Even the usual night patrols of distant headlights seemed absent. Emma's breath formed clouds in the icy air, rising and vanishing like ghosts. She passed by old shuttered houses, many abandoned for years, their windows opaque with frost, icicles hanging like jagged teeth from the eaves. She knew the stories. Disappearances over the decades, always around Christmas Eve. People who vanished without a trace. Children. Teens. Even grown adults. The town whispered about them, but the police never spoke in detail. Some blamed the forests, some the old mill on the outskirts, others the curse of a family who had long since moved. She'd laughed at the stories once, like everyone else, but tonight, the air around her whispered a different truth. A sudden snap drew her gaze upward. A branch, heavy with snow, fell, sending powdery frost cascading to the ground. Her pulse spiked. She looked toward the forest line. The trees swayed gently in the wind, shadows stretching and merging, forming shapes her mind tried to dismiss. Yet one shadow lingered longer than it should, stationary in the moonlight. Emma shook her head, trying to convince herself it was imagination. Still, unease crept down her spine. She had grown up here, but something about tonight felt irrevocably wrong. As she reached the end of the block, Emma noticed a light in one of the abandoned houses, a small candle flickering against the cracked windowpane. It shouldn't have been there. The house had been empty for years, the door sealed shut, the chimney crumbled. She stepped closer, curiosity warring with instinct. Inside, the glow revealed faintly scrawled words on the wall. Leave now. Don't follow. Her breath caught. She rubbed her eyes, convinced it was a trick of light, snow, and shadow. Then she heard the whisper again, soft, urgent, almost human. Go back. A shiver ran down her spine. She turned toward the street, ready to retreat, but the snow around her seemed different. The footprints she had ignored while walking, the small, deliberate prints that had appeared at the edge of the forest, were now closer. They crisscrossed unnaturally, as if circling, waiting. And then she saw them. Faint impressions that didn't match any human gait, smaller, precise, stopping abruptly in the middle of the road, as though whoever, or whatever, made them had vanished into thin air. Emma swallowed hard. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Mark. "I think you should come home. Now." The urgency in his words mirrored the panic building in her chest. She spun back toward the forest, hoping to find the ordinary path home, and froze. Between the trees, she glimpsed movement again. Just a figure, hunched and dark, standing still. Watching. The air grew heavier, each breath tasting like ash. Emma's legs refused to move, her hands numb. The world seemed to tilt, the familiar streets bending into an alien geometry. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure vanished. No sound, no rustle, nothing but the wind, which now carried with it the faint, unmistakable smell of smoke. And something fouler, something metallic like old blood. Emma turned, half running, half stumbling, desperate for the warmth of her house, the certainty of Mark's presence. But as she reached the corner, she noticed the old street lamp flicker, then go out, plunging her into darkness. And in that darkness, a voice, low, hoarse, familiar, slithered into her ear. "You shouldn't be here." She froze, heart hammering, eyes straining to see through the inky black. And then she realized she wasn't alone. Something was moving toward her. The forest line that had seemed so distant now loomed closer, as though it had shifted overnight. Emma could still feel the weight of the shadows pressing against her, the snow crunching underfoot sounding louder than it should. The town seemed suspended in a strange silence, the kind that draped over streets and houses like wet cloth, muffling sound but not thought. She kept glancing behind her, half expecting to see the figure again, but there was nothing, just snow-laden branches swaying in the wind. Back home, she sat in the dim glow of her kitchen, the radio playing soft Christmas music that felt discordant against the chill in her bones. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through the town archives online, trying to convince herself that the disappearances were just tragic coincidences. Names, dates, ages, pattern after pattern. Every record spoke of people vanishing on Christmas Eve, some near the forests, some in their homes, some along the snowy roads. The common thread, all were alone or thought they were. The first article she clicked on was from 30 years ago. A teenager, Jamie Calloway, disappeared near the old mill. Witnesses claimed to see a dark figure in the trees, a silhouette that didn't move like a person. The investigators dismissed it as hallucination in the cold night, but neighbors swore that strange whispers followed them for weeks afterward. One man reported waking to find footprints in his living room, leading from the fireplace to the front door, then stopping abruptly. Emma's fingers hovered over the keyboard as she read, her stomach tightening. Every story followed a similar cadence. A disappearance, whispers in the dark, strange footprints, shadowy figures. The deeper she dug, the more the line between superstition and reality blurred. The phone rang, a sharp, jarring sound that made her jump. Mark's voice came through, tense. "Emma, are you there? You sound different. Did something happen?" I'm fine," she lied, her voice trembling. "I'm just reading some old articles." "Emma," he said slowly, don't wander tonight. Just stay inside. Please." The call ended before she could protest. Her heart pounded. Even through the phone, she could feel the edge of fear that had been threading her every step tonight. She tried to shake it off, telling herself she was just imagining things, letting the town's stories get under her skin. But something in the air, something about the snow-laden forest, whispered otherwise. Later that night she heard it again. A soft tap, deliberate, coming from outside her window. She froze. Her breath fogged the glass as she leaned closer. No wind could make such precise, measured sounds. The tap, tap, tap continued, punctuated by a faint dragging noise, like boots scraping against the icy ground. Emma's pulse quickened. She told herself to look through the peephole to see nothing, and that's exactly what she saw. Nothing. only the faint outline of trees swaying in the dark. But the feeling didn't leave her. Every shadow in her home seemed to stretch farther than it should, bending toward her as if drawn by curiosity. The fireplace flickered and sputtered, though she hadn't touched the thermostat. Objects on her counter shifted slightly when she wasn't looking. Cups rotated, a knife tilted. A whisper brushed her ear, so soft she almost convinced herself it was imagination. You shouldn't have come here. Sleep became impossible. The town's legends replayed in her mind. Whispers, shadows, people vanishing without a trace. And then she remembered Mrs. Holloway, the old woman who lived 3 blocks away, said to be one of the few who had survived a Christmas Eve disappearance as a child. Emma had once dismissed her as a senile old woman, but tonight she found herself walking to that crooked house, drawn by a mixture of curiosity and desperation. The door creaked open before she could knock. Inside, the air was thick, pungent with mildew and something older, something metallic. Mrs. Holloway sat in a rocking chair, eyes sharp under heavy lids. "You've seen it, haven't you?" the woman rasped. Emma swallowed hard. "Seen what?" "The forest doesn't take just anyone. It chooses. And tonight it's chosen again." The words made Emma shiver. She tried to protest, but Mrs. Holloway's gaze pinned her. "They've been waiting for decades. Children, teens, adults. All taken when the snow falls, when the town believes itself safe. You are not safe." Emma stumbled back, panic rising. "Why? Why here? Why Christmas Eve?" "Because they come when the night is longest, when the heart is weakest, and when the town forgets the past. Each disappearance strengthens it. Whatever it is. You don't want to know, but now you do." She wanted to leave, but the old woman's eyes held hers too tightly, and Emma felt the pull of the forest again, like gravity. The rocking stopped abruptly, and the room went still. Too still. Too quiet. Then, a faint scratching sound began at the window. A slow, deliberate rhythm. Emma turned. Nothing. But her mind whispered possibilities she did not want to consider. Returning home, the forest seemed alive. Each step toward her door was measured, calculated, as though the snow itself watched her. She paused at her threshold, seeing faint footprints, tiny, deliberate, leading to her doorstep. She knelt to inspect them, heart hammering. Human. Not quite. Perfect arcs in the snow, impossible angles. And then she noticed the last print, right in front of her door. It stopped. But no snow was disturbed leading inside. Her breath caught. The front door shook gently once, twice. A whisper curled through the cracks of the frame. "Open it." Emma's instinct screamed to run, but curiosity, morbid and unrelenting, held her in place. She fumbled with the lock, every sound amplified in the silence. As the door swung open, the wind carried a scent she couldn't place. Smoke, iron, something decaying. And in the doorway, the night itself seemed to have formed a figure, dark and formless, waiting. She stumbled back, her mind racing through every story she had read that night, every detail from the archives, every warning from Mrs. Holloway. The weight of the town's history pressed down on her, the knowledge of decades of disappearances threatening to crush her sanity. And then she heard the faintest sound. Laughter? Or a whisper? Something human. Something impossibly not. Emma realized, with a cold certainty, that she had stepped into the cycle itself. The forest, the town, the snow, they were not passive witnesses. They were active, patient, and relentless. And she could not escape. That night, sleep never came. Every shadow in the room seemed to shift toward her, every creak of the floorboard a footstep, every whisper a call. She was awake, watching, listening, and waiting, just as those who vanished before her had. And outside, the forest waited. The forest was alive in ways Emma could never have imagined. The trees shifted subtly as she ran through the snow, their skeletal branches stretching toward her, clawing at her coat, at her hair, at her sanity. The moonlight was uneven, flickering through the dense canopy in harsh, jagged slices, illuminating the footprints that no one had left and shadows that seemed to move independently of their sources. Her breath came in ragged bursts, crystallizing in the frigid air, each exhale trembling with fear. "Emma, stop," whispered a voice, low and hoarse, carried on the wind. She whipped around, but nothing was there. Only the forest, endless and silent, watching. Her mind spun. Was it the wind, Mrs. Holloway's warning echoing in her memory, or something older, darker? She forced herself forward, feet slipping on hidden ice, muscles screaming, heart hammering like a drum of doom. Suddenly, the world tilted. The trees warped. The snow beneath her boots seemed to pulse alive. Emma stumbled, nearly falling, and caught sight of movement between two gnarled oaks. The figure from the forest, the one she'd glimpsed on the street earlier, was there. Taller now. Its form was vaguely human but impossibly distorted, shadowed in a darkness that didn't reflect the moonlight. Its eyes, if they were eyes, glimmered faintly, an unnatural luminescence that burned into her vision. What are you? Emma choked out, voice barely audible over the rasping wind. A laugh. Not a human laugh, yet threaded with memory. The sound reverberated through the trees, bending and twisting. You shouldn't have come. The snow under her feet gave way, or maybe it was the ground itself. It was impossible to tell. Emma felt the forest swallow her, each tree elongating, twisting, closing in. Branches snapped as if in protest. The figure advanced without a sound, gliding over the snow, leaving no prints, yet the air around it trembled with its presence. Emma ran blindly, arms outstretched, fingers brushing against the jagged bark. Each step was agony. Each breath tasted like iron. Behind her, whispers layered over one another, voices from the disappeared. Children, teens, adults, names calling, pleading, warning. Run, turn back. You can't escape. She stumbled into a clearing and froze. The snow was untouched, pristine, except for the footprints leading in a perfect circle, ending abruptly at the center. And in the center, nothing. Or maybe everything. The darkness pooled like ink, thick, viscous, swallowing light. The air vibrated with something ancient, patient, unstoppable. The figure appeared again, stepping out of the blackness. Its form shifted like smoke, shape fleeting, always on the edge of perception. Emma tried to speak, but her voice cracked. I just want to leave. You can't, it said, whispering and shouting at once, a chorus of tones that made her teeth ache. It is time. You belong, like them. The snow around her began to ripple, as though the ground itself were breathing. The trees bent unnaturally, forming a barrier, trapping her. Emma's vision blurred. She saw flickers of faces in the shadows. Mark, her parents, the lost children, all staring at her, their mouths moving soundlessly, eyes wide with terror. Panic clawed at her chest. She tried to run, to fight, to scream, but the forest responded, bending reality, twisting paths, closing exits. Suddenly, a small voice called from the shadows. Emma. Her heart leaped. Mark. She ran toward it, but the voice shifted, distant, impossible. The snow beneath her boots thickened, resisting, holding her in place. The figure approached closer, the darkness radiating cold that burned skin, seeping into bones. She stumbled to her knees, hands trembling. I won't, she gasped. I won't be taken. The figure paused. Then, slowly, deliberately, it extended what could have been a hand, or shadow pretending to be one, toward her. Emma's mind screamed. Fight. Run. Don't look. But she couldn't. Her eyes locked on the impossible glow of its form, and in that moment, memories not her own flooded her consciousness. She saw every disappearance, every scream swallowed by snow, every whisper that had gone unheard. She felt the fear, the cold, the isolation. Each soul became a thread in a web that pulsed with life, and she realized the truth. The forest, the entity, it didn't just take people. It collected them, built from fear, despair, and inevitability. She was not escaping. She was already a part of it. Emma's knees buckled. The figure loomed over her. The voices rose, overlapping, screaming, crying, pleading. She could hear herself scream, or maybe that was someone else. The trees closed in completely, branches scraping her skin, tearing at clothing, reaching for her. Please, stop, she begged, tears freezing on her cheeks. The figure bent closer. Its voice was soft now, intimate, impossibly familiar. You always belonged here. We've been waiting for you." A sudden flash of light, white, searing, exploded behind her. She shielded her eyes. When she dared to look, the figure was gone. The forest still loomed, but the snow beneath her feet was empty. Silence, thick and suffocating, pressed against her. And yet, she knew it was still watching. She scrambled to her feet, running blindly through the trees. Every path she took twisted, every landmark repeated itself. Time warped, the night stretched endlessly. Emma's thoughts fractured. The whispers never stopped, circling her, mocking her. Every attempt to escape led her back to the clearing. The footprints, the impossible darkness. Hours, days. She could not tell. Exhaustion warped her perception, blurred her senses. Her mind shattered piece by piece, paranoia infecting every thought. She began to speak aloud to the shadows, bargaining, pleading, naming every person she knew. "Mark, I see you, please." The response was the figure again, closer than before, the darkness tangible, wrapping around her like a shroud. It whispered promises she did not want, truths she could not deny. Emma felt herself slipping, losing grip on the world, on herself, on reality. And then the last horrifying certainty took root. The disappearances were never random. They were inevitable. She had been marked the moment she entered the snow-laden streets tonight. Her last coherent thought before the darkness claimed her was of Mark, of home, of warmth and safety, and the cruel realization that none of it existed anymore. Only the forest. Only the entity. Only the endless cycle of those who vanished, their whispers now joining hers in the unbroken chorus of dread. And somewhere beyond comprehension, the snow fell heavier, burying the town in silence, hiding the footprints of the newest victim. The town woke to a soft, indifferent snowfall the next morning. Streets glittered with frost, windows framed in delicate rime, but the serenity was a fragile mask over something deeper, something unspoken. Life resumed, or at least the semblance of it. Cars rolled along familiar roads, children laughed at school, and the faint scent of pine wreaths drifted through the crisp winter air. Yet the town knew. They always knew. Emma's house was empty. Mark waited at the kitchen table, cup of coffee in hand, his expression tight, uneasy. The chair across from him was bare, though her boots remained by the door, neatly placed as if she had simply stepped outside for a moment. He called her name once, twice, and then a third time, voice rising. No answer. Only the quiet hum of the heater and the soft ticking of the wall clock. The shadows in the corners seemed to stretch and breathe. He stepped closer to the window, glancing toward the forest. The tree line swayed in the wind, or had it moved? Something there shifted, darker than shadow, watching. Days passed. Weeks. The search parties found nothing. No footprints, no signs of struggle, no trace that Emma had ever existed beyond her absence. The town whispered in hushed tones, avoiding the forest, the abandoned houses, the snow-laden paths where the disappearances always began. Parents held their children tighter at night, strangers left quickly after brief visits, and the old tales resurfaced, this time with renewed conviction. Mark refused to believe she was gone. He wandered the streets, knocking on doors, asking neighbors, replaying every phone call, every message, every minor detail. His obsession grew, twisting him. Nights were the worst. The wind through the pines became a voice, murmuring her name in tones too soft to catch fully, too distinct to ignore. He would lie awake listening, eyes wide, convinced he could hear her breath in the house or her footsteps in the snow. The town moved on outwardly, but inwardly, a sense of unease festered. The disappearances were no longer stories from long ago. They were a living memory, a pattern repeating. A child was missing this Christmas Eve. Another home found empty, dinner plates untouched. And in the periphery, those who noticed felt eyes on them, felt the forest waiting, patient and inexorable. Meanwhile, in the forest, Emma existed in a space beyond time, beyond reality. She saw herself reflected in snow and shadow, fragmented, echoing the shapes of those who had disappeared before her. Whispers surrounded her constantly, murmuring warnings, riddles, half-memories, begging her to remember, to resist, to forget. She remembered Mark, her family, her warm bed, but they were illusions, shadows themselves unreachable. The entity that had taken her did not speak, not anymore. It was not cruel, not in the human sense. It was inevitability given form, a force patient, relentless, impartial. Emma tried to resist, screamed in the darkness, ran through endless snow, but every escape looped her back to the same clearing, the same impossible footprints, the same oppressive weight of being watched. Her sense of self began to fray, yet a part of her remembered the world she had left, the lives she had known. That part hurt the most. Somewhere, faintly in the distance, she heard laughter. Not hers, not human, layered with echoes of the vanished. A cruel lullaby that reminded her she would never leave, that she was now woven into the tapestry of those taken before. Back in town, life's mundane routines persisted, a thin veneer over unspeakable truths. Christmas lights glowed against the snow, carols echoed through empty streets, and children played in the very snow where footsteps had vanished. Adults felt the tension, a shiver that ran through them even in warmth. They did not speak of it. They could not. Fear had taught them silence. Mark eventually stopped searching in the daylight. Nights became unbearable, his sleep fractured by dreams of Emma. Her voice calling, her face appearing in shadows, only to vanish at the touch. The town watched him closely, quietly, offering polite concern while avoiding direct answers. He moved differently now, a man hollowed by absence, consumed by the knowledge that some disappearances were absolute, permanent, and total. Christmas came and went. Families gathered, lights twinkled, and still, the snow fell relentlessly. It covered the paths where people had vanished, softened the forest edges, erased evidence. But the entity remained, patient, watching, waiting for the next mark. It had no need to hurry. The cycle was infinite, predictable, and certain. And Emma. She learned to survive in the endless twilight of that impossible space. She moved with the whispers, tried to follow paths that led nowhere, counting the footprints that never ended. Every so often she glimpsed another lost soul. Someone who had disappeared in years past, someone who called her name, someone whose presence reminded her that escape was an illusion. The final, cruel truth settled over her mind with icy clarity. The forest did not take to punish. It took because it could, because it existed beyond understanding, beyond hope, beyond resistance. Those left in the world carried the memory of the missing, the whispers, the fear. But the taken became part of something vast, eternal, and unyielding. Mark would never see her again. The town would continue its fragile routines, hiding from the truth, forgetting until the next Christmas Eve. And somewhere in the forest, Emma waited, her shadow mingling with the others, her voice now just one of many whispering in the endless snow. The wind stirred. A new footprint appeared in fresh snow at the edge of the forest, small, deliberate, marking the beginning of the next story. The night swallowed it, silent, patient, inevitable. And the town slept, unaware of the eyes that watched, the darkness that waited, and the cycle that would never end.